Intz, I have to formally welcome you to my hangout. And like the first few people that I've had on here, I want to know like what's going to go on in here, and really all the folks that I'm inviting on here. Number one, you have to be able to have a conversation with me, and you're someone that I've had so many conversations with that I'm like, and you've been here a long time. You've been here a long time. You're a common fixture in the community. But you know what I'm embarrassed about? How do you say your last name?
I'll give you two ways. The first way is in the United States, what you do is you pronounce it Dzelzgalvis.
Elvis.
If you were in Latvia, which it's a Latvian derivation, it would be Dzelzgalvis. Can I tell you the meaning of that name?
Yeah.
So back in the medieval days, the way people who were commoners, they only went by their first name. So John the Baker or something like that. So I had an ancestor, and he went to war, and if you did something in battle that was significant, then they would give you potentially your surname. So the story goes that one of my relatives, they were in some battle against some prince somewhere, and he was ordered to hold this hill while the rest of the army escaped. So the people who left, they said, well, we'll never see them again because they were going to be overwhelmed. Well, about 2 weeks later, he shows up with most of the men, and they're amazed and like, well, what happened? We held them off and we escaped. And so they said, well, you must have been really stubborn and to be able to do that. So we're going to give you your surname. So my last name actually means in Latvian Ironhead.
And that's probably why I think you played rugby. And a lot of people don't know that about you. How into rugby were you? Like, what was your experience with rugby? What's the level you got up to? How long were you playing it for?
So I started playing in high school, and I don't know, most people don't know, I finished my last 2 years of high school overseas in Belgium, right outside of Brussels. I went to the international school, and myself and another guy that I played football with was approached by our British rugby playing physics teacher in senior year and says, do you guys want to start a rugby team? So we started the first rugby team at the International School of Brussels, which they still have rugby at that school. And then I moved on. I played 4 years at college at Lafayette. And then I moved on and played on several different men's clubs teams. And the most recent one, which was a while ago, was the Princeton Athletic Club. So we were a good Division II team. Division I is generally where they draw the guys that they bring on to the U.S. national team. So I played against some of the national team guys, but I wasn't quite at that level.
Your position?
I was mainly fly half, which is the equivalent of kind of like the quarterback for the back line. If you know rugby, you have the forwards and the backs. The backs are the faster ones, the forwards are the bigger ones, usually a little tougher. I also played in the centers, which those are usually for all the backs, more of the tougher guys. So I used to be able to run in my day.
used to. But you're not a bad runner. You just don't like it as much.
Well, so the funny thing is, after playing 17 years of rugby, got beat up a little. I was really I love the games. I was just tired of practice. I took a year off, and then I realized I needed to do something to kind of have a goal. So I started training for marathons. And so I got into running, even though I don't have the body type to run marathons. And believe it or not, I ended up running 13 marathons in 10 years.
Yeah, I had no idea that fun fact is that you ran 13 marathons. Well, I run 2, and each one I said this was the last one until it was really the last one. And I was like, this is bad. It's about to be over. What convinced you to run 13 marathons? What did you like about it?
Well, the first one I did, believe it or not, was in Burlington, Vermont. It was over Memorial Day weekend. And, that time of year up in Burlington, Vermont should be, 50, 60 degrees. for whatever reason, it had some kind of heat wave, and it was 80 degrees when we finished. When we were walking through by the medical tent, it looked like a MASH unit. They had people on cots and IVs, the whole deal. And I looked over to my buddy who I ran it with. I said, I got to try another one because there's no way the conditions could be that bad. So, and then slowly the times got better, and, eventually my goal was to break 4 hours, and I got close. I ran one of my runs was a Steamtown Marathon, and I got 4:01. And then I did a few after that, but then I never got any faster. So
what was your, did you have a favorite one? I mean, for me, I only ran the Philly Marathon. I never got to experience anything else. And I thought the Philly was cool, but do you have one that kind of stands out? Like, that was a cool place to run.
I ran New York, which was very cool. I always say when you come off that 59th Street bridge and you come around the corner and you just run into the First Avenue crowd, that's how you understand what a rock star who stands on a stage with 80,000 people feels like. I also like the Marine Corps down in DC because it ran by all the monuments. But really my favorite one was the Scranton one. It's called Steamtown Marathon. Mm-hmm. What they do is, if you've ever been in Scranton, it's kind of in the middle of a valley. They drive you at 6 a.m. straight out about 40 minutes to this school, and then you wait there till the start. The strange thing is when you're riding 40 minutes, you're thinking, Jesus Christ, I have to run back. But the nice thing about that one is, for somebody who's a little bit on the huskier side, it's mainly downhill, so gravity works with me. So that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, that's awesome. I run the marathon. I always tell people, I was like, you train for it, but nothing ever really prepares you for those last 3 to 5 miles.
That's what you do. You train to see how far you can push that wall out, because you're going to hit the wall unless you're really an elite runner.
Yeah.
First time I hit the wall was about mile 18, which means I had over another hour to run when I felt like I couldn't even move my legs. So that was always the goal, is push that wall out as far as possible.
It seems like you've done a lot of stuff that I consider like, so when I look at someone or I'm kind of analyzing them as an athlete, which is what I do with all my people in here. I'm like, who's got like the mental grit, like the mental toughness to kind of get through things? And I knew you played rugby, so I knew you had some kind of strong mentality. Then I'm hearing you run 13 marathons, and I'm like, yeah, that takes some mental fortitude there, because it's tough. It's tough mentally. Your body wants to give up. And it's funny because there's a lot of people like you that come into CrossFit because of that same reason. They actually like that part of it. How did you end up here? Like, you weren't a CrossFitter before this. You came here and this was your first experience. So how did you end up here?
That's a funny story. I don't know if you know this one. So it actually involves Dr. Tom. So Dr. Tom and I would meet up once a year I remember over at Trenton Country Club, and we have a 3-day member guest, and we met up there for the first time. And my guest and his guest, or his was a member. We would end up playing each other, and we were competitive, and one year they would win, the other year we would win, and then slowly we became friends because it was year after year we were going back. And Tom would always show up, as he's in good shape, and he's in this great shape. And year after year, I'm like looking not nearly as in shape as I wanted to be. And finally, we were sitting there in the locker room one time, having a beer, and I looked over at him. I said, "Look, this is the year I'm joining CrossFit," because he was talking about it. I said, "Here's my number. If you don't hear from me in 2 weeks, start texting me nasty grams and get me in there." And he did. And I basically, the line that I told him is, "I'm tired of looking like a flabalanche that I am." So that's how I started.
Oh, that's wild. So you came in here with who did your intro sessions, or like who's your first coach here? Do you remember
that? Who was it? Steph. Steph did.
Was it Steph?
Yeah.
And you came from a place where you were extremely tight. You were extremely tight, and it was like tough for you to do some of the movements.
Yeah, I had in college, I had a shoulder surgery. I had a reoccurring separation, and the doctor he said, "Well, what do you want to do after I fix this for you?" And I didn't know at the time the implications, even for CrossFit. I said, "Well, I want to play rugby." So he goes, "All right," and he fixed it and he tightened everything up, and he made sure it was really in there and secure. And I played another, 12 years of rugby on it. What I didn't know is he also limited some of the flexibility that as you know, pull ups are a challenge for me. Anything overhead, that I have to kind of keep overhead and then do squats with, that's a challenge. So that's my flexibility issue going back behind my head.
What were your thoughts after your first workout? Were you sold right away like this is exactly what I should be doing, or were you like, I got to give it a little bit, maybe give it a further assessment?
That's a good question. I think the first couple workouts, I scaled like extremely, but I just like the fact that you could get in and out in an hour. As you remember, when I first started, I was going at 6 a.m. Oh, by the way, I have to do a shout out to Matt Walsh. Wish him a happy birthday. He's on the 6 a.m. crew. Happy birthday. And but what I really liked was being able to get in and out and get a good workout in 1 hour, and still get to work on time. So, but when you hit some of those really challenging workouts, and you think, mentally, can I get through this? Having other people around you, I think, really, really helps.
No, definitely. I mean, for me, most of the people I talk to that come on this hangout, it is about the community, because everyone's got some like-minded goals here. So I know you probably thought we were going to talk a lot about CrossFit, but we're not. But I did want people to hear how you got here. What do you do? You were mentioning going to work. What do you do? Is it one of those jobs you can't tell me what you do? Because I had some people on can't tell me what they do for a living. I get it. But can you tell us a little bit about what you do, kind of where you started and where you're at now?
Yeah, well, where I started, I graduated my undergrad with a civil engineering degree. And so I worked as a civil engineer for 5 years, building roads and bridges and things like that, or designing them. And I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. I transitioned over to the healthcare sector. And so I've been working for nearly 30 years with different large pharmaceutical companies. I've had all kinds of roles: finance, marketing, global marketing. Currently, I'm in a business development role. The last 12 years, I've been in the oncology specialty. So what I do now, I kind of think it's cool. The way I describe it to my kids is I get to sort of peek ahead and look at like the science fiction of the science of cancer therapeutics that are coming not in the next 2 to 3 years, but 5 to even 10 years out. So we're very active right now. I have 3 projects that I'm working on, and these things could be and my focus is prostate cancer. These things could be very transformational for one of the largest tumor type, in terms of the number of the patients that are out there. In 10 years time, you're going to see cures with people with metastatic disease that you've never been able to get in solid tumors before. So it's a pretty cool job.
Oh, that's awesome. How many years have you been there?
I've been I'm at J&J at Janssen. I've been there 10 years.
Oh, wow. It's crazy. You don't hear a lot of people at one job for that long anymore. It doesn't
I was at my previous company for 19 years. I was at Bristol Myers.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it seems like those days are like long gone of people staying at companies for that long. You're part of a special generation, man.
Yeah, it's a different generation than most of everybody at the gym. True.
So I know you a little bit, and what I realized about you that not a lot of people know is that you like to cook. How the hell did that start? Because not only do you enjoy it, you really go at it and you get creative. Where did that all stem from? Was it that maybe your wife was like, you got to take some turns here, or you just actually had an enjoyment for it?
I would say it probably started out like just after college. I had a couple friends who had tickets to the season tickets to the Jets games, and I would get invited there, and I started watching what they were doing on the grill. I was like, I can do that. And then so I got my own grill and was doing things. And then over time, it probably right around the time when like Emeril Lagasse and some of his cooking shows started coming and becoming popular. I don't know why I was fascinated watching those. What I actually think it is cooking is a replacement for my civil engineering kind of creativity part of my brain to exercise it. So instead of doing that engineering work, I do it in the cooking area because I look at a recipe, but I rarely follow the whole thing anymore. It's by intuition and what I've learned about different spices and different ways to cook things.
Yeah, I think that's such a cool thing to know how to do. Like my cooking skills are very basic, but when I talk to you about cooking, I'm like, this guy knows exactly what he's doing. And if you have a question, ask Intz. If you have a question about grilling something, please ask Intz. There's other people you could ask too in our community, but I think you should go to Intz.
Yeah, you can ask me. Don't ask me about baking. Stay with Carol on baking.
Yes, yeah. We have people that specialize in certain things, which is great. That was a great name drop, by the way. I'm always thinking about who am I going to have on next, right? And they always usually come from the conversation I had prior, And I've had some outside the gym experience with you. Not a lot of people know, but you brought me to my first ultimate frisbee match.
That's right. I forgot that. Yeah.
First. So how many kids do you have? And then we can kind of talk about that a little bit. How many kids do you have? And what are they? Are they working? Are they in college right now?
I have 4 kids. 2 daughters are the oldest, and then 2 boys are the youngest. And our oldest daughter lives in Philadelphia now. She works as a consultant for PwC, and she just got engaged. So that's exciting. Our next daughter, Jenna, she's a senior. She's going into her senior year at Penn State. She's studying elementary education, wants to be a teacher. She's wanted to be a teacher since she's been about 6 years old. So it's great to watch somebody, be really passionate about what they're studying and what they want to go into. Then our Michael's our next. He's going to be a junior at Penn State, and he's got an interesting major that I'm still trying to figure out. When I do, I'll let you know. And then Conrad just graduated from Pennsbury, and he's going also to Penn State. So I always call, this is the year I've been looking at on the calendar for many years. This is my witching year where I'm going to be paying 3 tuitions in 1 year.
Wow. Man, good luck. Listen, I'm going to be in the same boat in a few years. I'm going to be in the same boat, so let me know how it pans out for you so that I know what's ahead.
Scholarships are saved money now.
Yeah, now tell me, which one of your sons did you bring me to the Ultimate Frisbee match? Which one was that?
That, I believe, was Conrad. That was our youngest.
Yeah. You know what I learned, and I see Michelle mess around with the Frisbee here, and I know she was part of a Frisbee league. I had no idea what to expect. And what I was very surprised at was the amount of running that was involved in it and how good a shape you needed to be in to actually play Ultimate Frisbee. The other thing other than that was the team bonding and the camaraderie between the teammates and how much how much chanting there is and how much of a team sport and how much actually psychological stuff goes on during the game. It became a fan when I watched it.
I do remember you asking me about the rules, and then you also said, well, where's the referees? And I said, there's no referees. So if you know anything about Ultimate Frisbee, it's basically there are no referees unless you get to the very top levels, and even then they're called observers. But what the kids do is if there's a dispute, they stop play and they talk it out, and if they can't come to an agreement that it was a foul or whatever, someone caught it out of bounds and someone said it was in, then they just throw it back to where it was before that. Everybody replaces themselves the way they were, and they start up again. So it's one of for somebody who played rugby and tried to get away with anything I could, or other people did too. It took me about 1.5 years to kind of get my head around that whole concept about, all right, we'll talk it out, and then if we can't agree, then we just start over and no harm.
Yeah, I mean, I was totally amazed. Yeah, when you were telling me about that stuff, I was totally blown away by that they're able to go through in a game that's pretty intense when they're playing this conflict resolution when everyone's adrenaline's up, and I was just surprised that that's the way it ran, and it ran so peacefully.
Exactly.
You know, and the songs are great. If you've never been to an actual official ultimate frisbee game with teams that kind of know what they're doing, you got to go watch one because I was totally amazed by it. So were my kids.
Yeah, and some of those guys, some of the athletics they can do in terms of throwing and catching, being able to throw to places and other people be able to run onto the frisbee, it's boggles my mind. And you saw a few of these, when they actually lay out completely to catch the frisbee and land on their chest and their whole body. That's pretty cool.
Let's not forget the fact that they're probably running at almost like a Metcon level pace, right? Where you're running pretty hard, but you're still jogging in between for a good solid 3 to 5 minute intervals at a time where they don't stop moving. And they're doing these feats of athleticism under a lot of fatigue, and it's like out in the sun. It's amazing. It's amazing. For anyone that hasn't watched the sport or been involved in it, start trying to get involved in it, because I think it's great, especially for kids. Like getting them involved young, like all the athletic capabilities that they're going to develop from that is just amazing.
Yeah, the other thing for people who don't know much about it is there's about 20 people on a team. Only 7 on a side can play at one time, and they play through the complete point. So a point could be, 30 seconds, or a point could be 10 minutes. And as you just said, running for 10 minutes straight without any rest, that's definitely a challenge.
Oh, definitely. All right, well, listen, Intz, I appreciate your time today. And I know this is going to get a lot of listens. And what's going to happen, Kim Smith can hear this. Kim Smith's going to compare how many listens this got to what she got. That's just what she's going to do, right? But I thank you so much for taking 30 minutes out of your day to talk to me today. I appreciate it. I think a lot of, and the point of these things is to get people, our community is getting so big. It's getting so big, and people don't know each other. So this gives an opportunity to kind of know some familiar faces, like, oh, okay, I know that guy. And also for people to understand that there's a lot more commonality between people than they think, and they can make connections that way, develop a tighter-knit community here.
And Matt, you and I talked about this, back at the old gym, and then we've talked about it now at the new place. I'm very open to, whether it's cooking, whether it's getting information about ultimate frisbee or, rugby, whatever it happens to be. Anyone who at the gym in the community ever wants to reach out and just chat about stuff, I am so open to that. And, especially for some of the younger people who, when they're still trying to figure things out, even from a career wise, I can tell you what my experiences were as an engineer, what they were in healthcare, and I have plenty of opinions on other, vocations just based on friends who are doing those things too. So
and that's what usually happens when you end up on one of these interviews. You open yourself up to the community because they usually do approach you about something, and it's cool to kind of see that happen because that's what we're here for, right? It's not just about exercise; it's about everything you can get out of this community. Whether it's advice, which direction you should go on your career. So it's all beneficial and all aids to people's health. And that's
we really appreciate your leadership for the community. So thank you.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thanks. Trial and error. You learn by your mistakes. You become wiser.
Yep. Don't be afraid to fail, right?
That's all we can do. All right, Intz, I'm going to let you get out of here. I got some people waiting. Thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon. I'll see you during the week.
All right. See you, Matt.
Yeah, Intz.